Let's talk about Real Madrid's amazing comeback to beat Manchester City in the semi-final of the Champions League. First of all, let's look at how the teams lined up. So we kind of expected City to be in a 4-3-3 as they normally are. It turns into a 2-3-5. This is the 5. So you've always got your wide wingers. You have a striker like here, Gabriel Jesus, and it defends in a different shape. So it defends as a 4-4-2. The wingers come back slightly like this. De Bruyne and Jesus up here, Silva and Rodri slightly deeper, and Walker, Cancelo, Laporte and Diaz. Now, the players that Real Madrid were worried about were clearly Cancelo, because he's really important to how Man City build from the back and then in the attacking phase as well. Real playmaker, scores goals too, but he comes in this sort of positions here, also gets around here to help out in the attack. Now, they're also clearly worried about De Bruyne because he's really good. Mahrez here, Mendy didn't get forward that much. Mahrez was being kept quiet by him, didn't really affect the game until he scored his goal later on. On the other side, we've got Real Madrid playing a 4-3-3 as well, but it's a little bit different. It's not quite a standard thing. Now, Casemiro's back for this game, really important. Plays the 6 as the anchor in this sort of position here with Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, the old guard, that's what you've got here. But Valverde starts wide right. Now you think he'd be kind of a winger, but actually Real Madrid didn't really have any width on this right side for most of the game, because Valverde would tuck in to kind of this position here, like the half space, then Kroos would be around here, Casemiro would be more around here, and Modric would effectively be a 10. Vinicius Jr. was always wide left. City were terrified of him. That's why Walker was rushed back to get into the game. So he was up against Vinicius Jr., one of the only players in the entire pitch who can keep up with him. This guy was amazing throughout. Walker mostly had him. A couple of times he caught him out positionally during the game, but Walker was there just for his pace, to keep him there, kept him quiet, really important. Benzema would often flick between these sorts of positions, between the centre-backs and the full-back here. Then Modric can create as a 10. Now Modric, in previous games in the Champions League for Real Madrid, has looked to control the game and change it. But for me, he's done that when he's been able to move into this 10 position, which he can do when Real Madrid move the team like this sort of shape. So it's like lopsided. And this is what Ancelotti's doing, it's like a lopsided thing. This is what I think they're doing. And Carvajal would come up here when Foden's not. And Foden was tracking him when he went up, but he wasn't going that far forward. Mendy wasn't going that far forward because of Mahrez. Now, Real were mostly playing on the counter. They knew City would have most of the ball. By the end of the game, it was largely shared. But this is City's tactic. What I think Guardiola was trying to do here, he said before the game he knew they'd have to defend throughout the match because they're playing against an amazing opponent, so that's what they're going to have to do, and that was interpreted as being that they would have to sit back in a block. But the actual way they did it was to push really high and be super aggressive, get them as far back as they can so they can push and squeeze up here, because then when they get to this sort of position here, with the defenders covering it, all these players like mashed in, maybe Walker's out wide here, there's just no way out. And the biggest threat for Real Madrid is on the counter-attack, but if they were here, they'd get closed down, they show, the centre-backs would split, this line would be cut off, he'd be open here, but then you've got De Bruyne would try and get in there, then he's got a choice to make, Eder Militao, doesn't have any options because everyone's getting pressed really high and aggressively, and so they would naturally clear it because they have to just pick a pass quickly, and that goes straight over here. Another thing they were doing, City were doing, is playing the ball over the top into space. As you can see, the space in this little situation here is in here, or like in here, or behind here. That's where the space is, that's where it is. So what City were doing was, rather than do the thing they are very good at doing, where you play through the lines, you play with a pivot here, and he sort of dictates play and finds someone who goes up here, and they create the passing lanes that you like and the lovely little patterns. So they were doing, Ederson's here, strides out a little bit, and then woof over the top, and Foden would onto it. And then, as soon as that goes like that, the whole team pushes up and forces Real Madrid back. Now this is what I think the plan was. You defend by keeping the ball and keeping the other team in their own half. The further away they are from your goal, the safer you are. But then some things change later in the game. So the substitutions in this game just changed everything, as often they do. Now you remember at the start of this, we're talking about the 4-4-2 that City would play when they're trying to show teams wide. It's because when you play a 2 here, the centre-backs can't really risk, or they can't risk playing this ball into the pivot like Casemiro, because they can block it either side. It's too risky, so they have to kind of go wide, which is where they can then push up, be aggressive, and stop the ball getting forward. So the ball goes from here to centre-back, he has to go wide into here, Silva pushes up, he has to go somewhere else. If he's really good, like Real Madrid are, maybe he moves in here and there's a little 1-2 they can make. There's a few options they can get out. Only the very best teams can get out, and in a high-pressure situation, it's very hard to do. This is relevant because De Bruyne comes off at some point. He comes off and they change shape. But the first thing that happens, in the second half, Toni Kroos comes off and on comes Rodrigo. Now suddenly what that does is gives you width on the wide right and width on the wide left. You've got Vinicius and Rodrigo. He's young, really quick, full of energy, highly skillful. That's what you need against your left back. That's a really good little tactical move. And I think at the timing of it, you know Kyle Walker is back from injury. Carlo Ancelotti is probably thinking, don't know for sure, but I probably think that he's going to have to come off at some point. He won't last a full game, especially racing Vinicius up and down this wing. So Ancelotti's playing on that, putting Rodrigo on here, knowing that he wants a bit of speed. You can keep Vinicius on regardless. But then Walker does come off. He suffers an injury or he just can't continue, which means the only real option on the bench is Zinchenko. Zinchenko has to play on the left. He comes inside the pitch. So he goes to the left, which naturally means Cancelo goes here. That changes the way that City's left side works. Foden is normally out left here and he would come inside here. But Zinchenko wasn't making as much of the runs as Cancelo was, which changes the way they build and the way they attack. And suddenly you've got Zinchenko versus Rodrigo. That's not really very good. But Cancelo is also now against Vinicius. So he can't do all the things where he goes forward and dribble and do all the fancy things he wants to, because he has to now just watch this guy. That is the big threat. That is the big threat right there. The other substitution is that De Bruyne comes off. Not to Real Madrid though, and on comes Gundogan. That's a small change. Jesus is now the striker. Gundogan plays more like a 10. It's sort of like a 4-2-3-1. And I think this is designed to try and just limit Casemiro's influence here. But what they actually do, because Rodrigo's on here, is Valverde comes back to form a 2 with Casemiro, and Modric basically becomes a 10. So it's essentially matched up. The two teams are the same kind of shape. They still have their wide wingers like Mahrez and Foden, comes inside there, Cancelo goes wide. They swap position. If he goes inside, he goes out like that. And Real Madrid have their counter-attack boys in Benzema, Vinicius and Rodrigo. This is where the game really starts to change. Because shortly after, Man City score a goal, and they do it with really clever play out from the back. Gundogan ends up in this sort of position here, and Bernardo spots an opportunity to run in because they're pushed over to this sort of bit here. Jesus is over here, takes a run with him. Ball comes in to Silva, who runs at goal. He's got a lot of room to play into. And then this is the thing, because they keep their wingers wide, if you watch the highlights of this game, you'll see that Silva's running towards goal and you can't see where anyone is. You can't even see where Mendy is because he's got Mahrez here so wide. And at exactly the right time, as soon as Silva's here, Jesus runs here to grab the defenders away. Mendy comes across to close that gap. Then Mahrez is here and he doesn't know where to go because Silva's in here. Ball comes out to Mahrez, round about this situation, who scores. That goal is a result of clever passing, City sticking to the way they want to play, through the lines, through players, Mahrez staying wide, sticking to the team's principles, coming inside and hitting that shot that goes in. So that's kind of tactical and just good play. Ancelotti knows something has to change. Off comes Modric, one of the stars of the Real Madrid team. On comes Marco Asensio, who comes in to play more of the 10 role. Off goes Casemiro. On comes Camavinga. This guy changes the game, changes the entire game. Real Madrid start pushing for the final, to get back in the game. City are obviously a bit panicked. Everyone's back trying to help out defend this. But Real Madrid have a couple of set pieces. They push everyone forward. They get all these players in the box. It's Camavinga. The first thing he does is very good in the game. He puts on this excellent ball to the back post where Benzema, wherever he's gone, arrives. He knocks the ball across the goal. A little bit of hesitation from the City defenders. They don't get to the ball first for the first time in the game. And that's when the hero comes in. Rodrigo steals in. So this is where the ball goes. It goes from here to here. Simple kind of ball. Second phase of a set piece. Guardiola will be very upset with this. Rodrigo steals in. Perfect timing. That's how that goal goes in. Now the second goal is a corner that just heads in off Asensio heads it on to Rodrigo, who just nods it in the goal. Really well taken goal. That's that. Again, that's second phase of a corner, so something they won't be very pleased with. That's bad. And then the penalty, I think, is an example of where Guardiola's lost the game in his tactical attempt to lock down Real Madrid. This is how the penalty happens. Now, as we were saying, City had changed their shape from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1. The positions, numbers don't really matter. The problem they have is that when you have a 3, we'll put them in a 3 like this, you have the pivot who covers this sort of area here, screens the back 2, but the central midfielders basically cover this bit of the pitch. So each one covers largely the half spaces. You expect the wide forwards to come back and defend the outside line like this, Understandably at this point in the game, apart from Grealish, the players are all knackered. Foden especially looked absolutely goosed. That's just what happens with time. Because at this point in the game, this is towards the end, this is the first section of extra time. Silva is now the 9 or a false 9. Real Madrid are spread out in their shape with a 4 and the 2. Asensio's round about here. So Militao and Nacho split. Courtois has the ball. Before, De Bruyne was starting here as a forward in the press, because then this ball cannot go through the middle, can't really go here, can't go here, has to go here. Or lift it over to Vinicius, which is difficult, and he can get tackled. So that's Real Madrid's options. I'm going to show you. If you have the 2 here, you can go to the here, easily to press and win that back. You can go long to one of the wide people here, really easy to win that, or you go short and then encourage the press and they lead you to a place you don't want to go. That's what the options are if you play like that. But instead, they're playing with a 2, a bit deeper, trying to lock it down, play a bit more safe. Gundogan's playing as a 10 here, Silva's here, they're waiting with the ball here. What's going to happen? Well, what happens is Courtois finds Camavinga, who then turns. Gundogan's not very fast, can't chase him, and he carries the ball all the way to around a bit here. The bit of the pitch that Rodri would have been covering if he was starting here is now completely open, and so he just runs, and obviously City then retreat. Now, in this situation, Rodri can't really catch him because he's not very fast. This is the problem. Fernandinho starts trying to get back as well. Benzema starts to make the runs. Zinchenko is a very spooked boy at this point because he's got Rodrigo running on the outside. That's an overload, 2v1. Rodri can't get there, so obviously Rodrigo is the extra man. They push all the way back here. Camavinga plays a really nice ball. Zinchenko closes the gap to try and keep the back four tighter to stop balls going through the middle. The ball goes wide to Rodrigo. It takes him quite close to the box here. He's round a bit here. The defence try to get back, but before they can, Rodrigo hits a low ball to here. Benzema is already closer to here, comes across, Diaz tracks him, and then there's a tackle that does it. Now that's a small, tiny timing error by Diaz. I don't really blame him for it. It happens. Benzema is very clever getting ahead of him. Rodrigo has made the difference by coming on the wide right. So you've got Zinchenko versus a wide right, which didn't have the whole of the first half because it was Valverde, not really wide right. Carvajal not really getting up. So that's something that changed with the way Ancelotti changed it and was clearly planning to do at that part in the game. Vinicius was tormenting Kyle Walker throughout, but the change was not that Vinicius then caused damage to Man City once Walker went off. It was just that they really lost Cancelo from that side. But the big change for me was that by changing the shape to match Real Madrid's 4-2-3-1, I think Guardiola was thinking Ancelotti would, they lost that little bit there. And because of the time in the game and Grealish didn't track back exactly as fast as he should, maybe he was tired after making the sprint, and Foden was a bit knackered, not able to cover these spaces, that's where Real Madrid were getting their joy. That said, Grealish Grealish had the ball in the goal if it wasn't for Mendy getting back and knocking it off the line. So they were almost there. Really close, really fascinating stuff for me. I really enjoyed that. Poor Man City, Real Madrid, one of the greatest teams of all time, through to the final. We'll see how they get on there, but that's our analysis of the game. That's where I think Guardiola lost it, and that's how I think Rodrigo was able to turn it with Benzema's penalty, and that's that. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Have a lovely time. Yes, that'll do.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. Not to mention, it's all ad-free. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.